Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the online NALI 2021 with the theme of Humanizing Artificial Intelligence in Education. I'm Dr. Muhammad Auzamiman bin Arifin from School of Education, Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, UTM. It is my pleasure to be the moderator for this plenary session on the topic of Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, or we call it as SoTL. Now, we are having Professor Dr. Maznah Raja Hussain, who is a professor of Instructional and Learning Technologies at the College of Education, Sultan Qaboos University, SKU in Oman. She is an expert in the field of instructional design and technology. She has a mission to improve learning in higher education through the scholarship of teaching and learning. She believes that an excellent academic is a leader who is creative and innovative. And also, she believed that an excellent academic leader always searching for ways to improve her practice with the purpose to help students learn. All right. As I've mentioned just now, she will deliver a plenary speech titled Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. Without further ado, I would like to invite our honorable speaker, Professor Dr. Maznah Raja Hussain, to deliver her speech. Hi, Professor. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih Dr. Iman for the introduction.
The stage is yours, Prof.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And it's still morning here in Oman, but it's afternoon in Malaysia. So very good afternoon. So I think I need to control my slide. Let me go back to the first slide. Yes, I am with the Sultan Qaboos University in Oman. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful university, the only public university in Oman. So before I begin, let me introduce a little bit about Oman to our audience who are in Malaysia. And these are some of the pictures that I have captured over the few years that I have been here. And if you see in the picture, there's of course, the food there. I'm sure right now you get a lot of Arab food in Malaysia too. And there's the dhow, that is the boat that's built by the Omanis, very famous boat. And also nice beaches, nice seaside, and nice Cornish area there. So that's a little bit about Oman there. I wish everyone can come and visit. It's a beautiful place to visit. Now, just a little bit about my students. This is who they are. And yes, Dr. Iman, you said that you look the youngest in your class. Well, I don't know. I'm the oldest there, but you know, all the boys they are about 20, 21 year old. They're very nice, good looking guys, and very pleasant, very nice people. And well, we look at our responsibility here is to make sure that the students are learning and to be self-directed and to be well behaved. Can I ask a question? Is the music at the back from my computer or from yours?
Pardon, Prof?
The music in the background.
No, the music in the background.
Is it from my computer or
From your computer?
From my computer? My goodness, I need to see where that come from. Oh, okay, now I got it. I'm sorry. Tadi tertekan something there, so it's no more there, yeah? Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
All right. Just to go back, I was talking about my student just now, and it is our responsibility to make the learning to help them to become autonomous learners and self-directed learners. So my question has always been, as a teacher, how do I know that my teaching is helping my students to learn to be the autonomous learners that they meant to be? So I suppose we do ask ourselves that question all the time. Are the students learning? Are they learning well, or why are they not happy? Why are they? All kind of questions we have in our mind all the time about our students learning. So, and our job is to make a difference in higher education. That's why we are in this profession, and we do research, and we we do good teaching, and most of the time our research is driven by our passion for our students, especially the research that helps to improve the teaching and learning. And also, at the end of the day, we want to improve the quality of higher education and to serve a larger social, political, and even moral vision. So, we are preparing students for creative, strategic engagement with the world, higher education, which contribute to the development of a more just and capacious society. Now, with that, I'm just going to refer to our own vision, Malaysian higher education. We have a blueprint for 2015 to 2025, and we hope that our output will be students who are balanced and holistic with
Prof. Uh,
entrepreneurial.
I'm sorry, Prof. We are facing some technical problem with the slides. Could you please help us to upload again the slides?
Okay, no
Uh,
problem. Okay, how do I do that now? Okay, so okay,
because it doesn't move just now.
okay, so
Uh,
the old slide is still there. I see.
yeah.
Should I, is it moving now?
Uh, okay. Is it okay now? Mm,
Moving or not moving?
mm.
Or do you want to start all over again?
So, dia tak keluar masa live eh? It doesn't appear on the FB, isn't it? Is it?
I see. So what do
Mm-mm.
I do?
Mm-mm. So the technician will try to check on this.
Okay. Dah nampak ke
Yeah,
slides?
yeah. Yes, yes. Now we can see
The
this. I'm not
one?
sure in our Facebook. Can we see the slides from Facebook?
So if I move it, boleh?
Okay. All right. Yeah, yeah. Now it's okay.
This is
They
the
can see now.
second, the new one.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, Prof. Sorry for the inconvenience. You may proceed, Prof.
All right. So where was I? Okay, I think we were talking about this just now, right? Okay, we'll start again. So this is our blueprint, our vision of our higher education, that we want our graduates to be balanced and holistic and entrepreneurial, with entrepreneurial mindsets, and they're job ready. And we go through the process of personalization of students' learning. We give them MOOC, we give them blended learning, we give them all kinds of things. But then again, how do we know that whatever that we are doing is helping the students to learn? So therefore, I put SoTL there as central to what we do in higher education, to make sure that our teaching is making a difference to our students. Now let me. Okay, how did we start? I think just a little bit of history about SoTL in Malaysia. My is that is for Malaysia, and also my SoTL drivers too. In 2010, I was picked from among the magnetic members at that time. I was the head of teaching and learning in University Malaya, and I was told to go and lead SoTL. And by then, I was like, most of us have no idea what is SoTL. As my discussion with Dr. Iman just now, people in education don't talk about SoTL. We have no idea, because SoTL always come from people from outside of education, people who are looking at how to make engineering teaching and learning of quality, how to make medical education great, accounting education, etc., etc. So therefore, as an instructional designer, I just read on it and say, oh, this is something that I have been doing a lot as an instructional designer, because central to what we do is always evaluation. So we're always checking, making sure that whatever that we are developing and designing is helping the students to learn. So therefore, with that, then came ACEPT project of designing and developing training of trainers in, I think it was 26 modules of teaching and learning. And one of them is SoTL. And we always see SoTL as the foundation of what we do as a teacher, because we are supposed to be reflective practitioner. We are supposed to be creating innovation, new strategies, new ways of doing things, new ways of teaching. So therefore, we form a team from University Malaya, UUM, UTM, UPSI, and the other one is UITM. So I had my team, and I had to lead the team, and looking at the critical agenda project, what is it that we need to do, what are our KPIs, and also there were high impact educational practices which give us opportunities to be very creative in things that we do in our teaching and learning. And also there was SoTL grants from the university. Each public university was supposed to put aside 1% of the research grant for teaching and learning. So that's how we started in 2010, and today is 11 years down the road. I'm so happy to say that SoTL is thriving and doing well in Malaysia. And I'm in Oman now to advocate for SoTL. And I'm also leading a SoTL project with a national grant at SQU. So let's see what's next. As I mentioned earlier, we had the SoTL modules and we started training in 2012. And this was the last training, I would say, at ACAP, because after that, ACAP said that we have done enough training of trainers. So these trainers are supposed to go back and train at their own institution. But what happened was when we called for the training, we were asking for people who have experience in researching on their practice, action research, and or even SoTL, but very rarely we get people who have been in that area for some time or experienced researchers in teaching and learning. So we get new lecturers, very young people. So these are three very new lecturers, and I hope they're doing 10 years down the road. I don't know where they are right now. I hope they are doing very well, and I hope they are leading the SoTL work in their institution. Now, this is our team went to several universities and to again, it was like becoming a missionary, just going everywhere to tell people about SoTL and to train people on SoTL. And this is my last training in 2016. Before I came to Oman, I left for Oman in September 2016. So this was the last training that I did at UTM. It was a wonderful training, and it was a lot of many people there. And one of my team is here, Dr. Narina. She's right here. She is the SoTL advocate in UTM. Right. With that, I just want to ask ourselves, ask you questions. Maybe you want to reflect on this question, or maybe you want to write in the chat or make a note to yourself. What exactly do we do to make students love learning? Okay, what is the teaching that makes the learning happen? Okay, now you may want to look at your teaching practice and ask yourself, does it promote that kind of good learning that you think it should? And if I do this face to face, I'll probably ask you to share your thoughts with everybody else and compare your thought with others and compare your practice. Does it compare to someone else? How does it compare to someone else? Is it similar? Is it different? Now, I'm sharing with you I found this a couple of days ago in my Facebook group on pandemic teaching, teaching during the pandemic. So someone sent this to say that 2 years ago I was saying, do you have any questions? So we do that all the time to our students. Sometimes we forget that maybe that's not the right question to ask them. So then we thought about it and maybe say, okay. And this person said, this Andre said, last year, I switched to what questions do you have? But we're always told that it's not good to ask, do you have any question? You ask them about what questions do you have for me, so that you'll get the response from the students. But believe me, it's very difficult to get response from my students, especially when they are online. Right now, we are still online and they just don't answer the questions, just keep quiet. And it made a difference, says this Andre. So today I tried, ask me 2 questions, and they did. And those questions led to more questions. It amazes me that the littlest things have such a big impact. So if you're thinking about SoTL, that's the gist of it. In a way, you keep asking, did it work the last time when I did it this way? How well did it work? Or if it's still not working well, maybe I will find another way of doing it, and I'll just keep asking questions. So it's more like you plan, you act, you observe, and you reflect. So this is the process of action research, pretty much, and the SoTL work or SoTL researchers also use action research methodologies sometimes to do the research. Now let's yes, no, Fadlin, yes, interactive and engaging learning does that to the students. Now, my agenda, okay, what am I here for? This is my vision, my mission is SoTL, as I say that I want to drive SoTL. I want to bring SoTL everywhere. So just for this session, it's a short session, and just an introduction to the need for SoTL, maybe for the new lecturers out there. Maybe this is something new for you. So I probably have to convince you, yes, there is a need for SoTL. And what are some of the key elements of SoTL inquiries? And what are some of the methods that we can use to examine our practice? So the need for SoTL, well, this is something that I put together when I had to give my inaugural speech for UUM in 2015. And my topic was from just teaching to SoTL, because just teaching is very private. I mean, especially new lecturers. And Dr. Iman, you say you are new, and probably you are practicing the teaching. You practice the teaching, and most of the time, maybe using the methods that your instructors taught you before, or the teachers, the way that you taught before, that's how you taught also. Then, what is so fortunate nowadays is that we have the teaching and learning centers where the new lecturers are sent for at least 10 days or 2 weeks to learn about how to teach. So, to teach in a scholarly manner. So, you are taught the theories of teaching and learning, the psychology behind it, the strategies, the technology, and how to do all those awesome things that's out there. So, you read a lot of research papers, and you get to practice it in your own teaching. So therefore, you're doing scholarly teaching because you're using all the techniques and strategies and the theories out there to improve your practice or to help your students to learn. And the next level is once you do that, you start talking to your neighbor next door. So something you find very exciting happen in your classroom. I do that to my colleague all the time. I just go knock on the door. I did this today and it was so exciting. And the student did this, blah, 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 blah. So it was a sharing. And then we tell another person and another person, and then the other person will say, hey, I would like to try that in my classroom too. Then you start to put together maybe a presentation, a seminar, you go to conference, you even write papers on it. Then it becomes very public, and you share it with the community of practice. So those people around there, out there in the picture here, this is the community of practice. Okay. So what is scholarly teaching, as I mentioned just now? Just for those of you who have gone through the compulsory teaching methods at the beginning of your teaching. So you are to do scholarly teaching, which is a less formal version of SoTL that stops short of presentation and publication. So most of the time you probably do not present what you have done and you do not publish it. And scholarly teachers engage with the literature on teaching and learning, identify learning problems, carefully assess student learning, and seek continually to improve their own teaching effectiveness. So it's still very private. You're doing it in your own classroom. Okay, what are the purpose of SoTL? We can look at. Yes, there are many. Okay, how prepared are our students of value needed? Okay, yes. Well, yeah, I suppose that's a good question to ask, because it's your job to think about what are the things that you value in your students. What are the things that you believe that they can do? So therefore, you do SoTL work because you want to help them. Okay, so let's look at the purpose of SoTL. So it could be at a personal level to improve ourselves and our teaching. So this is a sense of self-fulfillment. It's a personal interest and commitment to being the best instructor one can be, and also to reflect on your own teaching. So reflection is part of SoTL. And you do that because you want to improve the classroom. So you assess the innovations in the classroom, because you probably, like today, you are learning about all the new innovation in NALI. And it's also a competition, right? So you want to be able to bring back those innovation into your classroom. and improve your curriculum, improve your discipline, and you want to understand the teaching and learning. And eventually, you hope with your research, with your inquiry, you will be able to produce a formal peer-reviewed communication, either through seminars, conferences, or even publications. And you want to improve teaching, the program, and the college. Because if every one of the teachers are researching on their practice, and whatever that they are researching will feed back to the program, so that will help to improve the program and also the college itself. And of course, it will inform the policy decisions, what needs to be done when we sit down to do our strategic planning, because we have a lot of evidence to say that this work in our classroom, this doesn't work in the classroom, this need to be changed, and this not need to be changed. So it's more like closing the loop also. When we do quality assurance for our teaching and learning, we look at how do we close that loop. Okay, how do we make sure that the learning outcomes are achieved? And we have evidence that to show that whether something works or it doesn't work and needs to be changed. Okay, what is SoTL? Now, the definition of SoTL. SoTL started in 1990. It's not something new. It's old. It's been around, as I said before. So this Professor Ernest Boyer was looking at the different work of the professoriate, whether it's disciplinary research, integration research, applied research, and question why not research on teaching, because it should be, teaching should be also a scholarship. So many people attempted to define SoTL, because SoTL is a serious scholarship and it should be as rigorous as disciplinary research. And the focus of SoTL most of the time is the relationship between teaching and learning. And I like to always say that the teaching that makes the learning happen. What is the teaching that makes the learning happen? So you do your SoTL work to make sure that you are making your students learn or helping the students to learn. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's evidence-based. So SoTL is evidence-based study of teaching and learning, which is focused on student learning, grounded in context. Context is your own classroom, your own program, your field, your discipline, and it's methodologically sound, conducted in partnership with students and publicly disseminated. Because you want to be able to do SoTL research, publish it, and recognize as your contribution to your field as part of your research. Now, according to Schulman, it is an act of intelligence or artistic creation which becomes scholarship when it possesses at least 3 attributes. It has to be public, it becomes public. So whatever that you're doing in your classroom, you make it public, and it becomes an object of critical review and evaluation by members of your community. If you're engineers, then you're teaching engineering. Your engineering colleagues will be looking at it and will be critically reviewing it. Similarly, if you are in medical or business and so on. So members of one's community begin to use, build upon, and develop those acts of mind and creation. So I hope that the creation or your the competition that you put up for this NALI 2021 it is already public, and hopefully it will be used by your colleagues in UTM and everywhere else too. Now, what are some of the activities that we do that's related to teaching that will, whether it is in private or in public, whether it becomes informal or become systematic? So if we look at practice of teaching, things like we develop our lesson, we develop our course, we change our teaching based on our students' feedback or students' reflection, and we create teaching portfolio if we're going for promotion and also for Anugerah Academic Negara. we design curriculum. It's still very private and very informal. So the next level is once we start making it systematic and we attend teaching conferences, we bring that back into our classroom, we read the literature on teaching, and we try it out also in our classroom. And we use classroom assessment techniques and we talk about it and we start to make it very systematic way of collecting evidence to show that we are doing scholarly teaching and how we are using those theories in our teaching and how the literature informed our teaching. Then we start going public. It can still be informal and public, and we probably blog on teaching. Nowadays, many lecturers are blogging on their teaching. And during the pandemic, many of us become the YouTubers. We become famous YouTubers because we are sharing our teaching. And we also share our teaching portfolio. We start to present at the seminars, and we write the essay, we publish the curriculum, etc. So eventually we become more brave, then we start to publish out the case studies that we have developed probably, and publish the essays on teaching with references, and we also do systematic literature review on the topic that we are interested to, that we are working on. We probably write textbooks, we do meta-analysis, we peer-reviewed present, whatever it is, our papers are being peer-reviewed and we publish, and it becomes very public. And all that we did systematically. So those are some of the activities that we can see that we are doing, and maybe some of you are interested to look at where you are situated right now in your own practice. Are you still at the practice of teaching? Are you doing scholarly teaching? Are you sharing about teaching? And would you like to go further and get involved in the scholarship of teaching and learning? Now, as I said earlier, SoTL is about making our practice transparent. It's like opening your classroom door and say, come and see what I'm doing here. Come and watch me and come and give me feedback. But how often do we ask our peers to do that? Not very often, right? Because it's always very, very scary to do that. Why would anybody want to see what I'm doing? Maybe because maybe I'm not doing something right, etc., etc. We'll see. Okay, why? Why are we not sharing? As this Booth and Hutchins say, in many settings, the idea of sharing work on teaching is simply not yet a habit. Although it has been like for the last 11 years in Malaysia, and I hope people are sharing teaching and what they're doing in their classroom happily. It becomes a habit. So while it may not be actively resisted, neither is it something academics are comfortable with or actively seek out. So we are not comfortable with opening our doors and letting people come and see what we are doing. I don't know if you feel that way, because I was feeling that way for 20 years of my teaching life. I never thought about SoTL. I didn't even know that such thing as SoTL. And it's always scary if anybody wants to see what I'm doing in my classroom, because it's so private, right? And it's also because it's risky, right? If you open the door to someone else, what if they discover that the course that you are teaching is not leading to the outcomes that matters most to the students? What happened? I mean, you love that course so much, you designed it so well, and yet it is not helping the students to learn. Or we may find that the course we teach with such pride strikes our colleagues as outdated or missing the mark. So we are still using the same old method that we are so comfortable with. And our colleague come in and say, oops, you are so behind time. How come you are not moving with the time? So that is something very scary and risky. So, as I said earlier, SoTL is a bias toward innovation. So if you are doing something innovative in the classroom, so by all means, please share. If not with the whole faculty, maybe have a few friends, few colleagues of the same-minded people who have the same passion with innovation, teaching innovation, work together. It's always useful to work with friends when you are trying to improve the teaching and learning. And we're also looking at how the students should be actively playing the role of their students. And I put there T-shaped graduates because I'm going to talk in a while about T-shaped graduate. Okay, that engage them more meaningfully. Somebody said earlier, it's about we need to actively engage the students in meaningful learning. So they engage in the content, in the ways of knowing, and the forms of practice that characterize that particular field that they are studying to be. So if you see an engineer walking around, you can tell, okay, you look at him and say, yes, that is an engineer. Or you see a medical person, yes, that is a doctor. Or you see a teacher, yeah, the way she walk, the way she talk, yes, she is a teacher. So that characterizes the field. And here is the T-shaped model. It has been around for many years, and I just found this paper about a few days ago on the title is Repositioning SoTL Toward the T-Shaped Community. What this paper is saying is that we should conceptualize SoTL as an integral part of developing the T-shaped student. If you look at the T-shaped student here, it looks just like our holistic entrepreneurial graduates that we want. They possess the 21st century skills, which is at the horizontal where it says, it's hard to read, critical thinking, communication, problem solving, global citizen, and also they are good in teamwork. And vertically, that is the knowledge, the academic skills, the inquiry, and the scholarship. And what they say is that SoTL is central, and those are the strings that bind all these different parts of a T-shaped student. And I would like to look at it as SoTL as the blue heart that pumps the blue blood around this student to make them the kind of graduate that we want. Right. So it's blue blood and it's royal. Yes. What are the SoTL? How do we do SoTL? We start with questions of student learning that requires systematic, disciplined inquiry, and it should result in products that can be shared with others and used in subsequent research and future applications. And the SoTL inquiry uses discovery, reflection, and evidence-based methods to research effective teaching and student learning. So the findings are, as I said earlier, peer-reviewed and publicly disseminated in an ongoing cycle of systematic inquiry into classroom practices. And SoTL should provide awareness of what is taught and how teaching occurs that can lead to modifications to instructional practices, approaches to assessment, and changes to design of courses. And it should involve, the involvement in SoTL inquiries has resulted so far increased collaboration with students that often lead to the co-creation of learning activities and experiences. And of course, it helps to bring students into their learning, to take the responsibility to plan with us, to design with us the learning experience that suits them. Cool. In a way, we are talking about giving them the voices and the choices in what they're learning and how they're going to learn. So the basic idea here is teacher researchers raise questions about what they think and observe their teaching and their students' learning And they also see students' work as data to analyze in order to examine the teaching and learning that produce it. Again, I brought this picture here just for you to reflect on how that works. Okay, now talking about reflection, a SoTL researcher, central to her thinking and doing will be reflection. So GIP reflective cycle is something that we ask people to follow when they are looking at reflection, when doing reflection. And I teach reflection to my students, and most of my classes will have e-portfolio, and they also write their reflection. So in a way, helping them to become a reflective practitioner, future teachers who are going to be teachers who are reflective practitioners. Cool. This is something that you can start off also in terms of reflection, thinking about thinking. What is one thing that you would like to continue doing, stop doing, or start doing in your current teaching? This is something for you to think about. As you're listening to me, maybe you're already thinking, what are some of the things that I want to continue doing, stop doing, or start doing? In fact, we can ask our students this simple question. Ask them, what is it that maybe by the middle of the semester, they know you enough and they're comfortable with you. You can ask them about, what is it that you would like me to continue doing? What is it that you want me to stop doing? Or what is it that you would like me to start doing? So they will be very honest with you and they will tell you, and make sure it's anonymous because they don't like to put their names on whatever that they are sharing with you. Okay. And from your thinking, from your questioning, you ask question about, does it present a challenge? That's what you should continue doing, present a challenge for you, something for you to start doing. Does it present a challenge? So it becomes a relevant research question, and you start thinking about what kind of question would I be asking? And you also think about what's one possible strategy to address the issue. So what if the students say, I think you should stop lecturing to us, we are so tired of this. Or they will tell you, you should stop scolding us because it's not something, sometimes we tend to do things without checking ourselves. So if the student tell us something, then we should be able to address the issue and ask further question. And how would you measure the effectiveness of your strategy? So you think about what would be a viable research design for you to carry out or to answer those questions and to collect evidence. Now, so again, this is just some notes, some tips when you are writing your inquiry question, when you're asking your question that you would like to pursue further as your research in SoTL. So what is it that you want to learn about the student experience or student learning in your course or program? This is something that you need to ask yourself. What is motivating you to ask this question? Is it because the students' feedback, or is it because your colleagues told you something about your teaching that you need to do something about it? And what is the context of your question? Okay, are you looking at your teaching strategies, or are you looking at the assessment strategies? Or are you looking at the way you supervise the students? Okay, and this is from University Victoria guideline. They recommended that your inquiry question be specific rather than general, and that the question clearly link with the proposed intervention. Say, for example, you're bringing artificial intelligence into your classroom. So you may want to think about your question related to that artificial intelligence, how you would use it in your teaching method, and how you are going to look at the outcome of what you are doing in your student learning. All right. And of course, the very important is to find out whether there are people out there who have done this kind of inquiry. So what do we already know in our discipline or from other discipline that might help with our inquiry question? So it is important to survey the field before beginning an inquiry. And what does the literature say about how others have dealt with our questions, the learning outcome, and the related issues? Does the literature suggest validated methods or strategies? Maybe that's something that you probably do not need to reinvent the wheel. Just bring it into your classroom and see if it works for you just as well as it worked for someone else. Okay, now, how do you design and implement the study? And we always say that the best thing to start with is to use your discipline-based methods first, because a lot of the SoTL work is based on social sciences. So it could be something that may be a little bit difficult for people in the sciences, in the engineering to switch. So best thing is use the methodology that you are familiar with. And most SoTL articles use a combination of quantitative and qualitative methodologies. So you may use both. Maybe a mixed method would be good for you. And some of the approaches that SoTL research have used is like things like action research, case study, quasi-experimental study, phenomenological study, control study, etc. Those are some of the methods that are familiar to most of us. And when we design and implement the study, if you are collecting quantitative data, yeah, you may use the skills test, Likert skills survey, or student grades. And of course, for qualitative data, you may talk to the teachers, talk to the students, you may observe them, you may do reflection, you may give open-ended questions, and you may also use focus groups. There's so many ways to implement the study. And in summary, this is the big picture is you scrutinize the teaching and learning, your reflection, you ask the questions, you check the literature, design a study, and collect data, implement, and publish. So these are some possible SoTL topics. So you may be thinking, maybe your mind is already clicking now. Okay, what am I going to do? What can I research on? That sounds very interesting. Maybe active learning. So many different methods of, or rather active learning methods that you can use in your classroom. Assessment, which is related to student learning, assessment of the curriculum and the program, critical thinking, engagement, learning communities, motivation, service learning, internship, technology in the classroom, writing, and many more. Especially the last 2 years, I think we have so many questions that we can do research on, we can pursue and find answers, and because we always question about whether how did it really work, how did it work, how well did it work in our online teaching over the last 2 years. Okay, just to share with you, maybe we're coming almost to the end now. So just to share with you, this is an example of what I did with my class. And this is my master's class. I was teaching them instructional information and communication technology. And my goal was to engage 11 English teachers with emerging technologies for teaching and learning. So they come in, they're doing masters in curriculum, and they come in to do our course, the service course. And these teachers are tech savvy. I mean, I see a lot of TESOL teachers, English teachers are very tech savvy nowadays, and they're familiar with many new tools. However, they lack knowledge and skills on technology integration. So that's what we taught. And the options that I have there, to my pedagogical change involved personalized learning, project-based learning, blended learning, and flipped classroom. And I also bring in authentic assessment, and I had them do the e-portfolio, group inquiry, and they work on an instructional design project, and they work on ebook project. So that is something that I I was looking at. So, so this is the title of the research: Students as Designers of eBook for Authentic Assessment, because the eBook was their project. And I went into that course looking at it from the perspective of what if there is a better way to teach and assess this course, because this course was not designed by me, it was designed by someone else earlier, and I looked at it and I felt very uncomfortable, and I wanted to bring change, and I wanted them to be learning by doing. So I brought in the project, so it became a project-based learning where they designed the ebook and assessment as learning. And the ebook was monitored as they progress and was assessed. And the goal of the project was to support other English language teachers to integrate technology in their practice and support a community of practice, which means other teachers. And this is my research question. How do a select group of graduate students at a public university in Oman describe their learning about technology through the design and development of an e-book project? And this is my research method. It was a qualitative case study. And of course, the course has to be designed, develop, implement, and through to instructional design, as I say, the evaluation is always central to what we do. So the data was collected throughout the duration of the course, and data came from open-ended post-evaluation instrument, contents of their forums on Moodle, contents of e-portfolio, the students' reflection, and of course, content of WhatsApp group and my own field notes. So as a SoTL researcher, um, we always like to keep a note and write the field note and our observation so that we can refer to it and, and use that even as data for our research. Okay, the research findings was students who were empowered, and there was empowerment and autonomy in the students, and they had shared responsibilities and teamwork that was very useful for them, and motivation that lead to lifelong learning. So that was the finding, and this is the publication, and you can Google MJLI and Google the title, you'll find, and it's there, it's in PDF, so you can read that. It was published in 2019. And finally, some tips on effective SoTL proposal. I know some of you will probably be writing proposal for SoTL grant in your institution. So you need to demonstrate the implementation, whether of innovation in teaching and learning, or if you're looking at active learning, student engagement, learning outcomes, student success, and student retention, depending on whatever aspect of teaching and learning that you are studying. So you should include specific examples of what you plan to do, establish clear need and rationale for that study, support with pedagogy, which is research on teaching practice, which you will get from your reading, from the literature, and demonstrate how this goes beyond the normal planning or the normal day-to-day planning. Oftentimes, when you're planning to do your SoTL work, you would start before the semester begins. So you may even want to collect the baseline data, maybe send some open questions to your students just to get to know them and to get to know their level of knowledge and expertise in the topic that you are going to be working with them, and whether they have the tools and the technology that you need them to use in your class. So then you develop evaluation procedures that focuses on the scholarship of teaching and learning, and making sure that your evidence are clear, whether you want to collect their reflection, you want to collect the products, or you want to collect whatever else that will help you in making sense of what you're doing. So you address each component in the application with focus on the evaluation criteria. It's very, very important in your research. You have to show how you are going to evaluate what you are doing, because at the end of the day, You want to see whether the learning has taken place and the learning is transferred. Okay, so successful SoTL, what is it? So it allows the scholar teachers to examine personal pedagogical belief and approaches. And I'm sure we would have written our teaching philosophy, whether at the new lecturers training program. So it's supposed to write our teaching philosophy. What is it that we value? What is it that we believe? And how those things that we value and believe drive our teaching strategies and our practice. So we have to always become a learner as a teacher. So lifelong learning is very important. Keep reading, keep reading. As I said, by next year, it'll be 40 years already. I am teaching in higher education and I am still learning and I am still reading and I still feel I don't know many things. So teacher as designer, so very, very important when you are doing SoTL that you are also good in your instructional design. So you have to learn instructional design because otherwise it's very difficult to measure what you have designed. And it's hard to evaluate when you don't know what you're evaluating. So teacher as a researcher, which means that you are reflecting and you are collecting evidence of your teaching and maybe you want to make it public, then you make it SoTL. So successful SoTL also requires scholar teachers to conduct a thorough instructional design process, as I mentioned earlier. So critically evaluate their work and allow the development of meaningful and efficient learning and provide scaffolding that allows room for independence and creativity through coaching and mentoring. So this coaching and mentoring may be something that your institution have in place. Maybe your teaching and learning center have experts in SoTL who will be there to help you to write your proposal for the grant and to guide you in carrying out the research and to analyze your data and to finally write and publish your SoTL work. And of course, we hope your institution will provide support for professional growth with SoTL, which means that you are rewarded also based on your SoTL work. So next time when you're filling in your promotion, maybe there'll be a space where you scholarly teaching. So that'll be your SoTL work. If you have a publication in SoTL, that will be great. And of course, the scholarship in your discipline, your discovery research, and of course, the other one is your service. So, and I have here some SoTL resources that you can check. Annotated SoTL literature database, and some SoTL books that you can refer to, and some examples on the web. Yes, Prof. Fauzi, very right. Thank you. And this is my take-home message to you. This is from Lyle. It says that the scholarship of teaching and learning is built on the big idea that the process of teaching and learning can be improved by going public, by exposing practice to systematic evaluation, critic, revision, and reapplication, and by finding out what works, changing what doesn't, and continually improving outcomes. For those of us raised in the insular tradition of teaching, this is scary stuff, as I mentioned earlier. It requires a spirit of professional generosity and shared common purpose that regrettably has faded in all too many academic departments. So we want to bring that back, that community of inquiry, community of practitioners. In this sense, the scholarship of teaching and learning calls on us not only to revise our teaching methods, but to reclaim the shared purpose of our entire enterprise. Thank you, Dr. Halim. And right, so that's all I have to say today. And thank you very much for the opportunity to share this with NALI. Hope that will be useful for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Maznah Raja Hussain, for the wonderful and inspiring speech. Now we move to the session of question and answer. You may drop the question in the chat box. But before I write the questions, and while you are typing the questions, maybe I would like to remind all the audience to fill the attendance as in the chat box. Prof, let me check first if we have any questions from the
Okay.
audience, from our Facebook and also our YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is one question from Dr.
I
Anna.
think so. Because, sir, do you have any tips on how to attract students then into this kind of subjects?
Okay, so
Oh,
she asking for tips, Prof.
uh, university general courses. I know this can be
Mm-mm,
something that can be very difficult, right? So, anything in specific that you have problem with, Dr. Anna? Because it's so
okay,
general. Like, I mean, so what
all right,
is it?
okay.
General course, how to attract your attention to this kind
Okay,
of
I think you,
subject,
Dr. Anna, want
any
to
specific
expand the
area of
question.
the subject, yeah, that the students are having problem with, or you are having problem with to gain their attention, because gaining attention is very
Mm-mm,
difficult in a way. But I mean, as I shared with you earlier, that maths teacher just say, if I ask them to give me two questions, then they feel like, oh, okay, I am empowered.
mm-mm,
So I can ask questions. It's not about just you telling me what to do, but I can also ask questions. And also, of course, you want to be able to involve them in the learning,
mm-mm,
and making sure that you give them choices. Because
mm-mm,
sometimes we are so stuck with, okay, this is the only way I want to see your assignment done.
mm-mm,
And because I whenever I give an activity to the student, I always tell them that you can you can give me the answer in text, or you can do infographic, or you can do mind map, or you can do a video. It's just like giving them the choice, and they
mm-mm,
like that. And I find that many of my students will just do infographic because they're so comfortable with infographic, and they just do it.
mm-mm,
Some just do PowerPoint instead of just typing in the answer, and just present it in different ways. So that's
mm-mm,
giving them the choice.
mm-mm. By variety our approach, Prof. Is it like that?
Yeah,
Mm,
whether our approach, or also
mm,
the students' approach to answering our questions, so they will feel more comfortable doing something that they enjoy doing. So if
mm-mm,
we, I know if you ask the question, you have any question for me? No, no one will ask question. But if you ask them to write the question,
mm,
they will write. Maybe they will write the question. Maybe they will not. But if you want to, the idea of asking question is just to check their understanding. Maybe you can ask them to draw something based
mm-mm,
on what they understand. They'll be happy to do that.
mm-mm,
Or do a 3 minutes video or something. Or they just have their handphone and just take the video very easily.
mm-mm. Okay, Prof.
So
I'm still waiting for the next questions. If you have any question or any
yeah.
if Dr. Anna want to extend that questions, but if
Mhm.
not, then I have a question, Prof. So can I ask a question, Prof? That's from me.
Yes.
So we know that scholarly teaching. Just now you present that it's about
Mhm.
instructors engage with scholarly literature to improve
Mm.
their own teaching. So it doesn't directly involve other people regarding to our practice, Prof.
Not yet.
In the other hand, SoTL
Mhm.
that you presented just now try to give a bigger impact. That's from my understanding, lah. So
Mhm.
trying to give a bigger impact as we are opening our door of practice to the public. So
Yeah.
is
You
that true,
open
Prof?
your classroom door,
Mm.
let everybody in, let them see what you're doing, and
Okay,
let
so
them evaluate you.
so we are talking about being transparent.
Mhm.
With that, we are going to receive a lot of criticism and also suggestions, Prof. The question is, how are we going to sort that to improve our practice? You know, people will say this and that and whatnot. So how are we going to sort all these comments, suggestions, and all that to improve our teaching practice?
If you're a sort practitioner, you do not criticize.
Mm,
You probably find what are two things that can be improved,
mm,
and two things that we should stop doing,
mm,
maybe. So, I mean, you develop that habit of being positive.
Okay.
Because I know the word criticism is always so negative. Look at it from the
Mm-mm.
positive aspect of it. It's just something. Oh, I see that you are doing this.
Mm-mm.
It's very good. These two things I really like. Maybe you should keep doing that. But then
Mm-mm.
also maybe what you could improve on is maybe the way you ask
Mm-mm.
questions with students, or maybe the way that you give feedback to the students, maybe the way that you talk to them, maybe the way you express yourself with the students, the way you those kind of things. So your SoTL friend will be very friendly, I hope,
Mm-mm.
because I know people who are in SoTL are very friendly people.
Okay, so that's another angle of how looking at people comments at our practice. Yeah, Prof.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, yeah.
And you also, if you have to give comment to people, you do not criticize. You
Mm-mm.
try to find good things to say about what he has done and things that can be improved. I think people will accept that. But if you
All
say
right.
no, why did you do that? That's so wrong. You make your students angry. No,
Mm-mm.
no blame on him
All
because
right.
he's learning.
Okay. Let me check if you have another questions.
Mhm.
I think we don't have any more questions from our
Wonderful.
audience. We are approaching the end of the session, Prof. I
Thank you
would
so
like to
much.
thank our speaker, Professor Dr. Maznah Raja Hussain, for the time. For this plenary speech, we are going to have the first workshop session tomorrow at 9 a.m. The session would be on the topic of learners analytic for meaningful continuous quality improvement, CQI analysis in cost assessment report, CAR by Dr. Narayan Ibrahim. You are also invited, Prof. And also the audience, you are all invited. Again, thank you very much for your participation in this session. I hope you really enjoy the moment that we have and become excited to renew our commitment. No matter if we are teachers, instructors, or lecturers, this
Mhm.
sharing for sure help us in improving our growth as an excellent educators. Thank you so much, Prof. Can I give my last word in form of pantun, Prof?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be wonderful.
Where jackfruit grow without the fence, go prod them gently with the stick. A youthful learner eye, so hence be pleased to point out each mistake. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Prof.
Waalaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And all the best to Nali 2021 and the team and everyone. And all the best to the SOTO researchers out there too. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure for me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Just last night I was out and I saw your car. As I turned to a light of white, we had run to a point that was just so far, and our hearts knew it wasn't right. Just last night I was out and I saw your car. As I turned to a light of white, we had run to a point that was just so far,